The little girl ran barefoot across the marble lobby, her school backpack thumping against her back as tears streamed down her face. Executives turned their heads, annoyed by the disruption, but no one stopped her. She didn't look at them anyway. Her eyes were fixed on one man, the janitor mopping the floor near the elevators. "Uncle," she cried, grabbing his sleeve with trembling hands. "They beat my mom. She's dying. Please." The janitor froze. His name badge read Daniel, a quiet man in his late 40s who worked nights and spoke little. Most people barely noticed him. Some assumed he was slow. Others thought he simply didn't care. But when the girl said those words, something in his eyes changed, something sharp, focused, terrifyingly calm. He dropped the mop. "What happened, Sophia?" he asked softly, kneeling to her level. The girl sobbed. "Daddy's enemies, they came to the house. Men with guns. Mommy tried to protect me. She told me to run." The name hit him like a punch. Sophia, the CEO's daughter. The child of Victor Hale, the powerful man whose office sat on the top floor of the building Daniel cleaned every night. Around them, whispers began to rise. Phones came out. Someone called security. Daniel stood up slowly. "Where is your house?" he asked. Sophia pointed toward the glass doors. 10 minutes away. Security guards rushed over. "Sir, step back," one of them ordered. "We'll handle this." Daniel looked at the guard, not with anger, but with authority so natural it made the man hesitate. "No," Daniel said quietly. "You won't." Before anyone could stop him, Daniel lifted Sophia into his arms and walked out. The guards shouted, but something in his posture made them pause. It wasn't fearlessness, it was certainty. Outside, Daniel placed Sophia gently into his old car and buckled her in. "Stay quiet," he said. "No matter what you hear." The car roared to life, nothing like the broken machine it pretended to be. As they sped through traffic, Daniel's mind shifted into a mode he hadn't used in years, a place buried under mop buckets and silence. At the Hale residence, black SUVs blocked the driveway. 2 men stood guard, weapons visible. Daniel didn't slow down. He drove straight through the gate. Metal screamed. Alarms blared. The guards reached for their guns, but Daniel was already moving. He stepped out of the car like a ghost from another life. In one fluid motion, he disarmed the first man, slammed him into the hood, and put him down without breaking a sweat. The second didn't even get a shot off. Inside the house, chaos reigned. Furniture overturned, glass shattered, and on the living room floor lay a woman, bleeding, barely conscious. "Mommy," Sophia screamed. Daniel was at her side in seconds. He checked her pulse, her breathing, the angle of her injuries. "She's alive," he said calmly. "But we need to move. Now." Footsteps thundered upstairs. Daniel's eyes hardened. "Stay with her," he told Sophia, pulling something from his jacket, a compact blade, worn but razor-sharp. When the attackers came down, they didn't expect resistance. They expected fear. What they met instead was precision. Daniel moved like a machine built for combat. Every strike was efficient, every motion deliberate. Within moments, the house fell silent again. Sirens wailed in the distance. Daniel pressed a cloth to the woman's wound, applying pressure exactly where it was needed. "Ambulance will be here in 2 minutes, he said, as if he'd timed it himself. When police and medics arrived, they found a scene that made no sense. Armed men neutralized, a wounded woman stabilized, and a janitor sitting quietly in the corner, comforting a child. At the hospital, Victor Hale arrived, face pale, hands shaking. He rushed to his daughter, then turned to Daniel. "Who are you?" he demanded. "How did you?" Daniel met his eyes. "You don't remember me," he said. Victor frowned. Then his eyes widened. "Daniel Cross," he whispered. "They said you died." "I did," Daniel replied. "A long time ago." Years earlier, Daniel Cross had been one of the most skilled operatives in a classified international unit. When a mission went wrong, when corruption reached too high, he disappeared. Chose anonymity over bloodshed, a mop instead of a gun. "I stayed close," Daniel continued. "Not to you, to her." He nodded towards Sophia. "No child should grow up unprotected." Victor swallowed hard. "You saved my family." Daniel shook his head. "I did what needed to be done." The news exploded the next day. Footage leaked. Analysts questioned how a janitor dismantled a professional hit team. The internet went wild. Victor offered Daniel anything: money, power, a position at the top. Daniel declined. "I already have a job," he said, picking up his mop once more. But this time, When he walked through the building, people looked at him differently. Not as a janitor, as a guardian, and every night, before he left, Sophia would run to him, hug his leg, and whisper, "Thank you for saving my mom." Daniel would smile gently. Some secrets are weapons, and some are shields. Daniel noticed it the moment he pushed his janitor's cart through the lobby. Conversations stopped when he passed. Heads turned. People who had never made eye contact before now nodded, some awkwardly, some with open curiosity. Security guards stood a little straighter. Executives lowered their voices. Daniel ignored it all. He had returned to work because routine was armor. Because blending in had kept him alive for years. And because promises, real ones, were not broken lightly. On the top floor, Victor Hale stood by the window of his office, watching the city bleed into dusk. His wife was alive, but unconscious, her body wrapped in wires and machines. The doctors said she would recover. Eventually. The words echoed like mercy and threat at the same time. A soft knock broke the silence. "Come in," Victor said. The door opened. Daniel stepped inside, same gray uniform, same calm eyes. Victor turned. "You don't knock like an employee." "I'm not here as one," Daniel replied. They stood facing each other, the past heavy between them. "You could have walked away," Victor said quietly. "You disappeared once. You could have done it again." Daniel's gaze was steady. Children don't get second chances. Adults do. Victor exhaled slowly. They weren't random thugs. This was a message. "Someone wants me scared. They already failed," Daniel said. Victor studied him. "You still think like a soldier." Daniel didn't answer. That night, as Daniel cleaned the east wing, he felt it, the pressure at the base of his skull, the instinct that never truly dies. Someone was watching him. He adjusted his pace, pretending not to notice. Reflections in glass. Footsteps that didn't match his rhythm. A shadow that lingered too long. He turned suddenly. The hallway was empty, but the air had changed. At home, Daniel unlocked his small apartment and stepped inside, then immediately dropped low as a blade sliced the air where his head had been. He rolled, came up fast, and slammed his attacker into the wall. The man was young, too young, professional, but nervous. "Who sent you?" Daniel asked, twisting the knife from his hand. The man laughed, breathless. "You should have stayed dead." Daniel's expression hardened. The attacker reached for something. Daniel struck first. One precise hit. The man crumpled, unconscious. Daniel stood still for a long moment, then sighed. So much for peace. The next morning, Victor received a message encrypted so deeply even his best people couldn't trace it. "The janitor. Lives. You broke the rules. Now the debt is due." Victor's hands shook as he read it. He didn't hesitate. He went straight to Daniel. "They're coming," Victor said. "Not just for me. For you. For Sophia." Daniel nodded. "I know. You knew," Victor snapped. "Then why are you still here?" Daniel looked toward the window, where Sophia's school bus stopped every morning. "Because running teaches them nothing." Victor stared at him. "What do you need?" Daniel finally met his eyes. "Access, cameras, and permission to protect your family my way." Victor swallowed, then nodded. "Anything." By nightfall, Daniel was no longer a janitor. He moved through the city like a rumor. Old contacts answered calls they swore they'd never take again. Hidden doors opened. Forgotten favors were repaid. The world Daniel had buried sensed his return, and held its breath. The attack came 3 days later. Black vans. Coordinated timing. Power cut. Communications jammed. But they had miscalculated. Daniel anticipated every move. Traps were already set. Emergency lights flickered on, guiding enemies into choke points. Security teams followed instructions they didn't fully understand, but trusted. The fight was brutal, fast, silent. Daniel confronted the leader in the underground garage, a man with cold eyes in a familiar stance. "You trained me," the man said. Daniel nodded once. "And you forgot the first rule." The man sneered. "Which one?" "Never threaten a child." The fight ended seconds later. When it was over, sirens echoed again, but this time, there was no chaos. No blood on the walls. Just quiet efficiency and a clear message sent to anyone watching. The debt was paid. At sunrise, Daniel stood at the edge of the city, duffel bag at his feet. Victor approached him slowly. "You're leaving," Victor said. "Yes. You don't have to." Daniel smiled faintly. "I do. My presence keeps danger close." Victor hesitated, then held out his hand. "My family owes you everything." Daniel shook it once. "Just raise her well." A small voice broke in. "Uncle Daniel." Sophia ran toward him and hugged him tight. Are you going away forever? She asked. Daniel knelt, meeting her eyes. No, just far enough to keep you safe. She nodded solemnly, then slipped something into his pocket, a small paper star, folded unevenly. So you don't forget us, she said. Daniel's throat tightened. He stood, turned, and walked away before anyone could see it. Somewhere out there, a janitor vanished again. But this time, the world knew better. Legends don't disappear, they just